Thank you so much, James Terry, and welcome into the October 9th edition of the Coaches Show. We've got a lot to discuss, so let's get right into the action. Starting with college football, lots of good games today. Starting with arguably one of the biggest games in all of college football, the very famed and storied Texas Ou rivalry played at the Cotton Bowl, and it's been played at the Cotton Bowl well, just about since the dawn of time, it would seem, besides the 2018 Big 12 championship I unfortunately attended, in which Texas lost to Kyler Murray and the Sooners. But other than that, always played at the Cotton Bowl and almost always played at 11 a.m. and should prove to be another good contest as the Sooners come into the game undefeated at 5-0, number 6 in the nation. But they've struggled through a lot of their games, so they're going to be looking to get an emphatic win versus their biggest rival in the Texas Longhorns. But it won't be easy, as Texas does come into the game 4-1 overall and number 21 in the nation after taking care of business in Fort Worth last weekend against the TCU Horned Frogs. Should be a great game, but again, between two storied programs in the Red River, I was about to call it shootout, but it is now the Showdown, Red River Showdown rivalry, whichever you prefer. But that game is at 11 a.m. on ABC, so it should be a great game. Another 11 a.m. matchup are the Baylor Bears hosting the West Virginia Mountaineers, and always a great contest between two Big 12 teams ever since West Virginia joined the Big 12 in 2012. They've kept it very competitive with a lot of programs here in the state of Texas, and especially against Baylor, but won't be an easy going as Baylor does come into the game 4-1, and they're going to be looking to avenge their loss last weekend versus Oklahoma State, but they'll host the 2-3 West Virginia Mountaineers at 11 a.m., and for all you fans who hope to catch that game is on FS1, Fox Sports 1. And then moving over, or still at the 11 a.m. time slot, we've got a top 25 matchup in the SEC. The University of Arkansas travels to Ole Miss to take on the Rebels. Both teams, again, top 25. Arkansas comes into the game number 13 after a big blowout loss last weekend to the University of Georgia. Definitely going to be looking to make up some lost ground here this weekend when they take on the 3-1 and 17th ranked Ole Miss Rebels. For those who wish to catch up to that SEC matchup, that game will be on ESPN at 11 a.m. Moving over to the 2:30 p.m. time slot, we've got another top 25 showdown in the SEC. Georgia, again, after taking care of business in a big way last weekend, blowing out the Arkansas Razorbacks in between the hedges, and look to continue to build on it as they look to continue to fight towards not only an SEC championship berth, but a potential SEC championship. But they'll have to take care of business when they travel to Auburn at Jordan-Hare Stadium to take on the Auburn Tigers, ranked number 18 in the nation and 4-1 overall. And Georgia again comes into the game number 2 in the nation and 5-0. That game is on CBS at 2:30 p.m. Another good game at 2:30 p.m. are the SMU Mustangs, who continue to impress this season as they've continued to roll, starting out the season 5-0. Navy, who the SMU Mustangs will be playing in Annapolis, Maryland, they're reeling a bit. They started the season 1-3 overall, and to get a big win against an undefeated team in the SMU Mustangs, who continue to surprise and impress, would be huge for the midshipmen. That game is at 2:30 p.m. on CBS Sports Network. Then another good game to watch at 3 p.m. is a top 5 matchup in the Big Ten, in which the Penn State Nittany Lions travel to Iowa to take on the Iowa Hawkeyes. Iowa comes into the game number 3 in the nation, 5-0 overall, and Penn State just one spot behind in the top 25 at number 4 and 5-0 in the nation. And should be a great game. That's a pretty even matchup, as ESPN's Football Power Index would indicate. But that game is at 3 p.m. on Fox, just at 30 minutes after that 2:30 p.m. time slot. And then last two games I've got time to mention are the TCU Horned Frogs, looking to avenge their loss to Texas last weekend when they traveled to Lubbock to take on the Texas Tech Red Raiders. TCU 500 at 2-2, and Texas Tech still going strong at 4-1. So Texas Tech or TCU, that game is always good between these two programs, as a number of years ago it went to, I believe, a triple overtime game. And expect another good one tonight when the TCU Horned Frogs take on the Texas Tech Red Raiders at 6 p.m. tonight on ESPN. And then the last game is an always good matchup between the University of Alabama Crimson Tide and the Texas A&M Aggies. A&M is reeling a bit after 2 straight losses when they started the season 3-0, and then after losing to Arkansas at AT&T Stadium in a great matchup for a Southwest Conference Classic, as it's called, between those two teams. A&M lost for the first time since joining the SEC in 2012 to the Arkansas Razorbacks, and then lost to Mississippi State, so now they're unranked. And they would be looking to get a huge win versus the Crimson Tide, which would be their only second win over Alabama since joining the SEC in 2012. Should be a good matchup, although Alabama is favored to win. That game can be caught at 7 p.m. on CBS. And that's all the college football I've got for you this weekend, or all the top 25 matchups. But plenty more action for those who want to catch more games. But moving over to the This Week in Review in Wildcat and Lady Cat sports, the volleyball team had a kind of a mixed bag this week, as on Tuesday they hosted the Mount Pleasant Lady Tigers. They were able to sweep Mount Pleasant 3-0, which gave them a 19-12 overall record, and moved them to a very solid 5-2 in district. But then last night they traveled to Texarkana, making the long trip to take on the Texas High Lady Tigers. Texas High came into that game 7-0 in districts, the only undefeated team in District 15 5A. And unfortunately for Coach Bailey Dorner's volleyball program, it continued after last night because they beat Sulphur Springs and moved to 8-0 in district, but not for a lack of effort. Sulphur Springs did lose the first set 25-14 before taking sets 2 and 3, and then unfortunately dropping sets 4 and 5 to be defeated by the Texas High Lady Tigers, and unfortunately that gives the Lady Tigers a season sweep over Sulphur Springs. So Sulphur Springs sitting pretty comfortably in the number 4 spot in District 15 5A at 5-3 in district. And next up, they'll be back on the road for another tough matchup when they travel to Marshall on Tuesday to take on the Lady Mavs. That game is set to begin with JV and freshman and JV squads at 5 p.m., followed by the varsity showdown at 6 p.m. So we'll really see what this Lady Cat team is made of after that Marshall trip, in which they could possibly move into a 3 spot. But we'll find out on Tuesday when they travel out to Marshall. Moving over to cross country, on Thursday they were out in Lindale at the Lindale Eagle Invitational and had a pretty solid outing. But moving forward to next week, they have their district championship next Thursday in Hallsville at Hallsville High School. And no doubt Coach Ross Hicks and his program hoping to have his team back at full strength for a district contest, and hoping to pull out a few surprises and hopefully be able to make some moves and make it into the postseason. Then moving over to tennis. Tennis earlier this week was set to host Marshall on Monday for senior night for their last regular season contest before playoffs. They've already clinched a playoff seat as the number 4 team. But Marshall was, and Coach Tony Martinez said this last weekend on the Coaches Show, was that he kind of expected Marshall to struggle to field a team, expecting them to field a lot of JV, maybe freshman players, but scheduling conflicts and COVID-19 just couldn't make the match possible this week, so the game was forfeited for Marshall, a 1-0 forfeit for the Mavericks. And so the Sulphur Springs Wildcats team tennis have officially moved past their regular season and are now looking towards playoffs, which will take place on Tuesday, and they're set to play John Tyler or White House, and we'll talk more about that after commercial break. But the last thing I've got time to mention is middle school football. And Coach Eddie Flores and his middle school football program continue to roll with both A and B teams for the 8th grade, starting the season 4-0. The A team beat Mount Pleasant 21-6, and then the B team, again, also beat the Tigers, dispatching them 38-6. So continuing to roll for that middle school football program under middle school head coach Eddie Flores. But we're going to take a quick commercial break here from Coach Greg Owens regarding this week in Wildcat and Lady Cat sports, and move over to the Wildcat football game from last night. Welcome back to the Coaches Show here on October 9th, and before we went to commercial break, we talked about all the college football matchups today, and Wildcat and Lady Cat sports in review. Coach Owens, would you care to comment on any of the teams?
Yeah, I mean, just everybody's doing well. I mean, congratulations to tennis, who gets to advance, and White House defeated John Tyler last week, so we will be playing White House. The tentative date for that is Tuesday, and it's at Laterno in Longview. So I think the weather's going to allow that to happen this week, and they'll finalize all the stuff this weekend, and we'll give you a firm answer on Monday what's going to take place there. Cross country did run well in Lindale. Girls got second, boys got fourth. And so that they've been, I mean, those kids are committed. I mean, it's anybody we've got, because they're up every morning early, 6:30 up here. They're getting it, and some mornings when I'm in early, the lights are already on at the track over there where they start out, and so they're doing a great job. And so excited for them and the opportunity they have next week for the district. Volleyball again takes Texas High to 5. And it was just a hard deal. So Texas High kind of dominated 1 and 4, and I think we dominated 2 and 3. It was my report, and then they got the best of us in the 5th one. But that just goes to show it's just kind of like there's a lot of parity in our district in volleyball, and so we're in 4th right now, and they're in 1st. We're still taking them to game 5. So I mean there's a lot of it's just close. It's so streaky. The game on Tuesday that I had the opportunity to go watch. I mean, it's just a game of momentum and motion and change, and so it's one of those things. I'm proud of our girls. They're battling. They're getting after it and doing a great job. So this thing's not over, because you go back and we got to play everybody again. So we say, well, they're just in 4th. Well, they're going to climb back probably to 2nd, we hope, and continue to battle and get that done. So a lot of fun stuff there. And yes, kudos to our junior high program right now. It's doing a great job. They're doing a super job getting after. They got a big game this Tuesday. It ought to be a fun one. Very talented Texas middle school versus our kiddos. So that ought to be a fun ball game for those guys to get after and go play. So we're excited about that and what they're doing and the excitement there, and watch those guys. And our 9th grade did a great job this past week. They had a big win over Roy City at our place. So that was good. If anybody wants to see before all the college football stuff starts, if you want to see some more Sulphur Springs football, our 7th grade intramurals are at our stadium right now. So they do that on Saturday mornings at 9 and 10. So opportunity to get out and watch those young kids play too. So it's fun. Things are going well. Things are flying. I know basketball is starting to gear up. They're kind of getting ready, and those things are happening. They've got a little that we're hosting today in the high school gym, a little East Texas hoops. Teams kind of come in, they play a couple of games, and then they leave, 2 more come. So it's just kind of, we're not playing in all the games. We'll just play a couple ourselves. But it'd be both boys and girls. So an opportunity for those guys, kind of warm up stuff, a little pre-practice, kind of a not necessarily AAU, but a little bit, just not an official Sulphur Springs High School schedule there. It's just some pickup games somewhat. So, but they're getting geared up, and everybody else is fired up, and the leaves are turning. So it's fall football weather finally, and so we're excited about all that. And anyway, I'll let you ask some questions maybe now about
no problem.
The game.
So a hard-fought loss last night at the Prim. The Wildcats kept it close up until the 4th, keeping it within a 1 or 2 possession game for the vast majority of the contest.
Yeah, it's one of those games. I go back to the Crandall game. The Crandall game, we had some opportunities, and then, we were our own worst enemy. I mean, we self-inflicted wounds, and that's kind of the way last night turned. It's kind of back and forth, and that's an undefeated Roy City team with some talented kiddos, and we're going toe-to-toe with them. And we have a turnover on the goal line trying to score, so that's a 7-point or a 3-point, whatever you want to look at there. We ended up not allowing them to score from that one, and then we gave up one late, which kind of made the score get out of hand there a little bit. So with that, which was a pick 6 the other way. So those things are hurting us a little bit, especially when you do that. And maybe you get points up or not, but a lot of that stuff is emotional. A lot of that stuff is momentum. A lot of that stuff is, just the emotions of our guys that are trying to get a win. But there were some really good things happen too. The special teams got a turnover and then scored a touchdown on all that stuff. So there's a lot of positive things that are happening with those guys. But it was a tough one. I mean, we went toe to toe, and the guys were still encouraged. Hey, we're still in this fight. It's not over. We got 4 more ball games, and all of us are fighting for playoff spots, because our district is kind of all over the place right now. Last night, of course, the Corsicana defeated Greenville. Thursday night, we had North Forney. No, that was last night. North Forney got beat by, help me remember?
North Forney got beat by
Ennis. They got beat by Ennis. Yeah. And then the other one was Forney. Forney defeated Crandall in a triple overtime. So, I mean, all this stuff's kind of back and forth. So we know what Crandall's like. We know what they've got. So, there's a lot of parity in our last ball games right here with us. And it comes down to, it's just like that one last night. Coulda, woulda, shoulda. We got to make our own breaks, to be honest with you. And we got to do a better job of tackling on defense, which one is a phenomenal player and lots of speed. But we got to do a good job of doing that. And offensively, again, consistency on some things. It's a simple thing. Maybe a kid didn't see a signal. We blew a route. We dropped a ball. We missed a block. That thing right there might kill a drive. So the consistency of that and making those plays. And then, we had some really good plays. J.J. Hall ran fantastic. In between the tackles, he's breaking, he's going. So those guys are doing that and moving bodies around. So that was very productive. I thought for the most part, passing game, we had a shot to hit Weston deep on a ball. So those things are kind of opening up. There's just got to continue to be more confidence gained with every play. So as we continue that game last night, finished with a score. While we're doing that, we're trying to still gain confidence and execute and try to create execution and all that stuff. So proud of our guys for continuing to battle. That's what we've been talking about for the last few weeks, is play one play at a time, be relentless on every play, with your attitude, with your thinking, with your focus, with your actual play. So that's our focus, and that's what it's been, and that's what it'll continue to be, because it is about one play at a time. So I go back to I got to watch the end of that triple overtime between Crandall and Forney. It was about them making a play at the end of the ball game that was a difference maker. One kid came up with an interception right at the very end, a phenomenal play. So it's about each play, and you watch those ball games you just mentioned today, a lot of that stuff will be about individual plays. And some will be extremely close ball games, and that's what we're in, and that's what the rest of this district play is going to be about, is parity between our last four opponents and about just executing and making plays on both sides.
And luckily for y'all, seems like the vast majority of the toughest teams that you'll play are kind of already out of the way, and Ennis, Lovejoy, Crandall.
Yeah, guys with big time records right now, undefeated records and all that stuff. Those guys are a little bit past us, but still, we're fixing to go see a very talented Corsicana that has athletes, has a running back that can go, big physical running back. They got two defensive tackles that are physical inside. So there's still stuff there. But I still go back to us. It's still on us to execute what we've got called and make plays and do those kind of things. So so we're all fighting for spots. Forney right now, next to the last ball game for us, they're on a high. They're rolling right now. I think they're 3-0 in district, and so those guys are kind of putting some things together. And when you win, there's a lot of confidence that's built from that too. Not sometimes it's overconfidence, but most of the time it's just building a belief I can go do this. So that's what we're still searching for and all that kind of stuff, and a belief in that. But we know we got some tough opponents coming, but at the same time, we know we can play with these guys. And so that's what we got to do, is continue to work, continue to get better. And that was their attitude after we talked at the end of the ball game last night. They're ready to go. Okay, we got to go back to work. Well, let's keep working. So that was positive, and they're still ready to fight, and here we go.
And that's something I was talking about during our radio broadcast last night, is that's exactly what I was thinking on the final drive. I said Coach Owens is taking this team because he wants to have something positive and confident to build on going into next week. And not only that, leads me right into my next question. You talked about Brady Driver connecting with Weston Fields on a 29-yard play, and J.J. Hall as well going 30 yards on a rush. So starting to see a lot more explosive plays. And just as you were talking about, I think that really does continue to build confidence for your offense.
Well, again, we might have talked about this one of our other shows, but we call explosives anything 20-plus. So 20-plus for us are explosives, and then that's with like a JJ. And then all that does is bring energy to you. That lets us get in a little quicker tempo offensively, get back on the ball. The defenses sail or let down just a little bit, because it happens to us too. When we give up a big one, last night defensively, I can't tell you how many times we were in 3rd and long and we let them get out of it. Those were backbreakers. We got them backed up. We think we got them. We're fixing to force them to punt, and then we miss a tackle. We get one up. They go make a play on the ball. Your emotions just go, and then they run up there and they're trying to get on it. That's the same thing we're trying to do offensively too. So when we get those things, you do attack when you can attack. and you smell blood, you go get it and you go try to make it happen. So that's where we are on all that, and just trying to get better and continue to get better. But again, JJ was good. He was fast coming out of there. I said, JJ, just quit getting caught, man. Let's go finish this thing. So Malachi was a little frustrated. He didn't have that success that JJ was able to have last night. But hey, that's part of it. Big Dougie came in at running back, and he was a load. We just still couldn't get him. We got to get him going. He needs to be going downhill, and when he does that, he is tough to handle. So I don't know that we dominated the offensive line last night. They were cramming the box. They were in a 3-3 stack look, and it kind of messes it all up in there. So they did a good job of just getting bodies on bodies. A few times there we just turned some guys loose, and that's going to happen sometimes. So again, cleaning that up, understanding that, those guys understanding what's happening to them. And again, it goes back to one of our first talks is about experience. The more experience you can have, the better off you can play back on this game. So, our two tackles that are really inexperienced, that they're gaining more and more experience every ball game, and did some good stuff in the ball game too. So we're just challenging our big boys inside to keep moving bodies forward and creating some creases. And then we got a couple backs that can really hit that crease and expose it. So it was good. I'd like to see our passing game a little cleaner than it was. We had the turnovers, which is never good, but just some things. There's some route bust by receivers that just that stuff just kills you. That's a mental error of not being locked in, not being focused. Those things are frustrating, especially when we're trying to get some momentum and trying to get things going. So those things hurt us. We got to continue to clean that up and make that better and do some things there. But, Cable Glenn caught the ball well. I mean, he had hit a couple slants. He's inside, a big body, come back on a stop route. He did some good things. And then, again, the other one over the top with with Weston was a good one. That always an energy burst. So, I'm sitting here in my mind going, well, maybe we should have taken some more shots with him. But they don't always give those to you. You got to hit them at the right time, at the right moment. You got to have the protection for all that stuff. So there's a lot of stuff that you just go out there and throw it. Well, there's a whole lot of other stuff happening up here that not everybody's aware of either. So, but for the most part, it was good. We continue to see improvement. Again, it's a close ball game. Even Doug commented on before we started here. I mean, it was, hey, man, that was a very competitive all the way through. You got your money's worth. So I think they did too. And I was proud of our kiddos, how they battled and how they fought. And, again, we're continuing to work to get better.
And when we return from a commercial break, we'll talk more about the Roy City loss from last night. Welcome back to the Coaches Show here on October 9th. And we were talking about the offense and how good they were last night versus Roy City. The Wildcats finished with 28 points in the contest, and one of the things you mentioned earlier was one of those 4 touchdowns came thanks to a special teams recovering a muff punt in the end zone. Yeah,
we had a little shake-up, and, let me just tell you some special teams real quick. Starting out the year, Josh Rivera was going to be our starting kicker, returning guy, and all that stuff. Well, he kind of hurt his knee over the summer, then re-injured it during 2 days and really tore his ACL. So he had ACL surgery, so he's going through that. So then it all came on junior Uriel Santa Cruz, and then Uriel had a family emergency last night. He had to leave the game. And so so I still don't know what's going on with that, but our thoughts are with those guys and the things they're going through. And so it kind of pushed some of these duties back to 2 other guys. Uriel's been punting and kicking for us. We had a young man that moved in here at the beginning of the school year. We're trying to work out paperwork for eligibility purposes. And anyway, he's got family here. Fernando Arellano was his cousin who kicked for us on the 08 team. And so he has lived here. He grew up here, and his family moved to Georgia, and he and his mom have moved back. And so anyway, Osvaldo Arellano was kicking for us last night. So that was his first varsity ball game, really, to get out there and get his taste of it. And it was all kind of dumped on him because right before – this is a game decision with Uri right before the game. So I thought he did an exceptional job of just handling the pressure, of doing those things. His extra points were fantastic. He kicked one of the best onside kicks. I mean, the coaches are going, oh, my gosh. It was a beautiful ball. I mean, he kicked a fantastic ball, and he did a good job for the entire night of that and just handling that kind of pressure. So thought he did a super job with that stuff. And then Kobe Albritton stepped in as our punter. So we got 2 or 3 guys that have been punting for us. Uri kind of took the job over. And then when he left last night, I said, Kobe, you're the man. So he got over and got some warm-up punts in, and that's kind of – Kobe's kind of a utility guy. He can play slot receiver. He can play running back. He can be your quarterback if you need him to be. and then we're playing him at corner. He could play safety. He's kind of all-around guy. Return punts, return kicks. I mean, and on down the depth chart, he's the next kicker. So on Thursdays when they don't have the regular kickers, he's kicking extra points in our indoor for our walkthroughs time. So, but last night he took over the punting duties, did a great job, and just guys getting down the field, making that happen. So I'm proud of those guys that stepping up. And that's through all this stuff. I guess we've learned anything through the COVID time is have a lot of kids ready in multiple positions. And so we've been cross-training and doing a bunch of that, and those guys stepped up big for us last night, did a great job. We got burned a few weeks ago and gave up one on a punt return. So the heat has been turned up on those guys about taking care of business, and it still goes back to the placement of the football, where we're kicking it to, who we're kicking it to, and all that stuff. But last night, great punt. The guy tried to fair catch it. He muffed it. Our guys were busting their tail to get downfield and did a fantastic job of recovering the ball in the end zone for a touchdown. So that was all good stuff, all positive stuff with that. And we continue to see improvement there. With those guys, and from the protection standpoint, from the coverage standpoint, same thing. Kickoff coverage continues to improve as well, and a lot of that stuff's about the placement of the ball from the kicker too. So a lot of dynamics go on when you're talking about all those things, and the bottom line is you still got to make a play at the end of the day, and they did a pretty good job. I'd give them a good review last night on special teams.
And then. Another one of the positives from the game is that you kind of spoke about miscues such as wide receivers missing a route or something of that nature. But while we saw some of that last night, the Bulldogs kind of ran away with penalty yardage on the night. So
yeah, they a lot of holding calls, and I mean that's kind of their game though. Their game is they're going to run the football. They were 70+% run coming into the ball game. Well, that's who they are. They're giving the ball to 1. They're giving fly sweeps to 7. The quarterback can run. I mean that's who they are, and they've got some big, good-looking physical linemen, and so. Good job. Them, us, whatever, them not being able to get our guys, but our guys being athletic up front and getting off blocks and showing that it was a hold. There were quite a few holding calls last night on those guys, and I think some of that stuff was a little bit of frustration on them too. They had a personal foul, I think, in the middle of that deal that tacked on some yardage to one of them. So, nonetheless, they're a physical group. That's what they do. That's how they play. So, big linemen, you don't tell them to hold, but you tell them to secure blocks and get in there with your hands and play a lot. And when those hands get outside and you start turning guys' shoulders, then you're going to get caught on that. So that was a ball game last night where they were doing a lot of that, and so that it kind of was not good for those guys.
And then another thing I'd like to note before we go to a commercial and start talking Coach McCain's defense, staying ahead of the chains. Something I pointed out to listeners and those watching on YouTube was that Coach Young's unit was doing a pretty good job of staying ahead of the chains and keeping ahead of schedule. So
their defensive philosophy really is to back off a little bit, just give you soft coverage. Keep everything in front, not let you get behind them like Weston did on the one he had. So a lot of those things were just little quick stop routes, little quick slants, stick routes that you get 5 yards. So when you look up and it's 2nd and 5, all right, now we got a chance. Now we got 2 down. We got 2 downs now to get 5 yards. All right, which gives you more options. You're not back here. So we're trying to prevent from being in 3rd and longs, being in 3rd and 7s and 8s and those things. So when you do that, that also gives you more options. You can still run the ball. You can run a bootleg. You're not just having to depend on somebody going downfield for a 10, 15-yard play and having to win a matchup on a pass. So, and then because when you get in those 3rd and longs too, they're going to start heating you up. They're going to start bringing the blitzes. So then you got to deal with all that kind of stuff. So long story short, yes, did a great job. First down stuff, the run stuff was working. We're popping on some of that, which gets us out of a hole, puts us down there on the positive side of the field and not the negative, where we have a chance to take some shots. You're a little more comfortable down there. You feel more aggressive down there. And then, again, we're taking what they were giving. And receivers are catching the ball. Quarterbacks are throwing the ball well. So we've got stop routes. Now we're looking at 2nd and 5s, 3rd and 5s instead of that longer yardage, which is a little easier to convert. So we did stay ahead of the change. I thought that was a productive deal. Had some ugly 3-and-outs, though. I mean, just some frustrating 3-and-outs where defense gets a great stop and we turn around right now and it goes back, and we just didn't do a very good job in some of those areas. So that's the stuff too we got cleaned up. Some of those areas are where we got a busted route or a read or a missed call. that's just unacceptable stuff. I mean, we got to be focused more on that, getting those things. I didn't see it. Well, you got to see it. I mean, there's no excuse for that because every down counts.
And when we return from commercial break, we'll be talking more about the Wildcats defense and the Royce City contest from last night. Welcome back to the Coaches Show, and again joining us is Wildcats football head coach Greg Owens and athletic director here at SSISD. So we kind of started talking about the defense before we went to commercial, but Coach McCain's unit was fired up, and you were talking about it before we went to commercial break. They were able to get a number of 3-and-outs to keep Sulphur Springs in the game.
Yeah, I mean, I thought defensively did a great job. I mean, they played with emotion, get after it. Just tough. I mean, just tough play inside. I mean, this was going to, as I talked about before, a physical team in Royce City of how they want to just come off the ball and try to control the ball, and that's what they've been doing, everybody. Did a great job of keeping them off balance. They like to get into – you see a lot of teams that do tempo. Most teams that do tempo, a lot of that stuff is not run. A lot of it's pass. So you go back to Mike Leach, and he's throwing the ball all over the place and all those things. But – with those guys last night, that when they get in tempo, they like to run. They'll line up in a power set, and they'll just wear you down and run right at you. And they've been doing that for years. That's just their belief and all that. And so defense did a great job of keeping. And so when do you do tempo? Typically, tempo's done after you get a first down. You rush back to the ball, and you get on it again, and you go. So defense did a great job of holding them, keeping them from getting that rhythm and doing that stuff, and making them have to think about another play, putting them in a longer play, keeping them behind the chains a little bit. Because as I mentioned earlier, we had them in 3rd and longs. I keep 3 or 4 3rd and 15s or more, and we let them get out of it on a couple occasions. So, and those things are backbreakers for you. So, and some of that goes back to some of our guys. Position. Some of that's just them making a play. Sometimes it's you maybe guessing at a call, thinking they're fixing to go here, and you sell out to one side, and then they call the perfect call. On one of those, they hit on one of those, did a counter away from the tight end to the backside, and they gashed us on that one, but we were planning on a tight end run side because it was short on the goal line. So anyway, there's all that stuff going on. But I lost my thought with where I originally was going with all that. But anyway, they did a great job slowing it down. So, but our issue is some of us, we're kind of in position to make a play. We're just not making them. I mean, some of it is, and I'm not picking on all the safeties because it's not just them, we stop our feet. So the last 2 weeks, we've been working on open field tackling, getting out receivers blocking and all that stuff. So we've had a lot of one-on-one just aggressive play at practice and just working on open field tackling. So one of that thing is, as a DB or anybody, a defensive player on open field tackle, you can't stop your feet. You can't sit down and get back on your haunches. You've got to keep progressing and going. So some of that stuff, our guys, our safeties especially, a lot's put on their plate. Going to get beat deep, but we want you to also stop the run on the line of scrimmage. So you've got to come on with it. So they're kind of hesitant at times last night. And when you got a guy with speed like one, you can't be hesitant. You got to go. But nobody wants to get juked. Nobody wants to get embarrassed. And you think by me just slowing down helps that. It doesn't help it. Yeah, it may not be the big wow, if you miss him, and then everybody's embarrassed or whatever. But, I mean, you got to go run through your guy. You got to keep going. You got to make him slow down, change direction. And so it's just some of that fundamental stuff that's so close from making a tackle. And when you don't do that, then you get exposed. I mean, and then the guy, he never breaks stride, and that's not good with the speed guy at all. So I say all that. Those are some of the breakdowns that we had on third and longs, and another time was a quarterback just breaking. I mean, good athlete. I mean, he just breaks the pocket and he goes and he makes a play. So it's some of those kind of things right there. But overall, you pull that stuff out, man, they really played well. They played hard, tenacious, got after it. They battled, just did some good stuff. But I don't recall us getting a turnover. I don't remember one. You may correct me on that. But I don't. We've been getting a turnover. Riley's been leading us with turnovers and that kind of stuff. But I don't recall us getting a turnover from them last night on defense. So, but anyway. Those things are momentum changers too, so that's all part of it. But overall, proud of the defense. The front fought their tail off. Again, we're undersized inside linebackers. Those guys are mismatched every week by about 100 pounds. And man, but they keep fighting. They keep getting after it. And they keep doing a fantastic job of making that happen. So, just continue to work. That's all we can do. Continue to work. Continue to get after it. We did this week. We've been fighting some injuries. And through the open week, we were able to get some guys back. So, 4 or 5 guys suited up for us that haven't been. So it's kind of like refreshing. Hey, we got some more troops in here. We got some more backups. We got some more guys to go and make some plays. So we kind of got some guys healthy a little bit. And so we kind of had here's our team right here. Here's our full team. We got a chance now to go get after it. So that was good too. So there's other guys getting more reps at outside linebacker. Madison Martin, I thought, did a fantastic job last night. He's undersized, but man, he's tenacious. He's quick. He'll go hit you in the mouth. He's just a fun player to watch, and he's just kind of all over the place. So he's really good, and he's not scared of nothing. So he's that guy. He's a special teams guy that's on all your special teams. He's the guy outside linebacker that's tough, doesn't matter. And so he had a good night, did some good stuff on his side as well. Impressed by what he did.
And the one thing I was going to say is that there was a turnover for your Wildcats, D, in that really tumultuous, what was it, about 2 or 3 minutes where your team recovered the muff punt. There was a muff punt on y'all's team, and then Bull Turner recovered the ball.
That's right. Yeah.
Deep in Wildcat territory. So that was a big play. But
yeah, I'd forgotten about that one. Good. So it just usually it's an interception or something that you get, but that was a big thing after that one. Yes, sir.
And plays like that are so interesting because I think on that play it looked like maybe a running back kind of fumbled when he went down to the ground, and then there's kind of a scuffle, and then all of a sudden a player gets up and he's got the football.
Yeah.
And in that case, it was the Wildcats. So it's just kind of like
yeah, it's a free-for-all.
Yeah. But is there anything else you'd like to add regarding last night's loss in Roy City?
No, just get back to work. Again, I'm proud of our kiddos and the effort they gave, and we're still fighting for the win. We're still trying to do that, and we're in the middle of the mix. And now it's getting to must wins. Here we go. We got to get this thing, make it happen, and it still boils down to who beats who and points and all that kind of stuff. I didn't expect Forney to beat Crandall. So now you've got those things that start happening. So in our district minutes, it's not just a straight who's one. Well, how do you determine 1, 2, 3, 4? Well, it goes by schedule first, and it goes head to head, and then it goes into a point system. So you could end up in a point system with 3 teams tied. All right, let's say for 3rd or 4th place. And then you got to sort all that out based on points and based on common opponents and all that stuff. So it kind of gets detailed. So you're not out of it till you're out of it. So that's what we keep telling our kiddos: keep playing, keep busting your tail, keep getting after it. And I was proud of their effort last night. We didn't get the W, but we're still fighting for that, and hopefully we go get it next week in Corsicana.
Yeah, that was something I was talking about during one of the volleyball broadcasts is, I believe, going into Tuesday's matchup, Hallsville, Marshall, and Sulphur Springs were all tied for second,
yeah.
All of them 4-2. And Sulphur Springs lost to Hallsville, but Marshall beat Hallsville. So I said during the broadcast, you have yourself a 2008 Big 12 tie.
Yes. Yeah, it's all that stuff. So then that's why we spend hours when we first realign, and this next year is a realignment year. We can talk about that sometime. But we sit down after they realign us and tell us what districts we're in. We all sit down and draw up the minutes or the rules for our play. Okay, we're going to do this. When it gets to the end of this, so you try to think of all those scenarios beforehand, because at the end of the season, everybody's just looking at their scenario that is in their favor. So you try to work through all that stuff, and then you refer back to that going, okay, so here in a couple of weeks, there'll be some of us that are tied up wherever, and we'll start having talks amongst ADs and head football coaches. All right, well, how are you interpreting their minutes? What is it saying? And so that we'll share emails and we'll talk on the phone, and here's what it's saying, here's what's going to happen, and make sure everybody's in an agreement so we don't have a big brouhaha, whatever, at the end of this thing saying this. And that's the same thing we do in the volleyball district over there. Now, cross country is pretty cut and dry. Hey, you win the race, you're in. It's pretty simple. Golf, hey, I win, I'm in. You don't go back to all that. So, but in football and volleyball and basketball, all these things, we always have sometimes some controversy about tiebreakers and what they mean and all that stuff. And that's why you have the rules, and that's why you have the minutes, and that's why we spend a lot of time making sure all that stuff's right.
And then looking ahead to next week, what can you tell us about your next opponent, the Corsicana Tigers?
They're athletic, physical, ball club. They just are. We got to go to their place, which is a long trip. And that they're hungry, that they're in the same boat we're in. They're still in the hunt, but they're in the same boat. So we're both trying to get wins. Last night they beat Greenville by a touchdown. 21-14, 28-21. I don't recall the score, but I mean, it's a close ball game. So this is all the opponents we're fixing to play again. We're all pretty evenly matched. It's just about making that play. It's about being consistent. It's about one play at a time still, being relentless on that play and making your breaks. So we got to make our breaks, and they're good. Their defensive front's good. They run around. They got athletes in the back end on their secondary. We got to figure out how we can expose them there. And then athletic quarterback and a big running back. Offensive line are big fellas that may not move as well as some of these others we've had, but they'll still try to come right at you. So we got to get off blocks and not let them tie us up and stay locked on with those guys. Hit him, get off, and let's go make a tackle. But it'll be a battle. I mean, it'll be just like this. It'll be just like the game we had last night. It'll be like the Crandall ball game. It'll be one of those kind of ball games. So it's, got to come prepared.
And now 6 games through district, and I mentioned this at the end of our broadcast last night, but I'd be remiss if I didn't mention it to you. This time last year began a streak of almost a month of no Wildcat football, and I mentioned this during the broadcast that it's a great blessing, the fact that we've already played as many games this year as we have last year.
Yeah, that's what I keep reminding the guys. I mean, we all want to win. Everybody expects you to win, those things. But I keep reminding the guys, hey, we get a chance to play. I mean, every ball game, guys, you have an opportunity that some people don't have, that you're going to regret, seniors. You're not going to get to do this again. Enjoy the moment, live in the moment, be where your feet are. Live right here and go play. Go have fun doing and enjoying and playing in front of your community and your home crowd and your student body. Play your tail off. But we get so caught up, and rightfully so, not whatever, with wins and losses. Hey, don't forget to give great effort. Go play your tail off. Enjoy playing the game because it is a game, and let's have fun. And it's teaching us a lot of life lessons, and some hard ones right now with adversity and those things, but enjoy the opportunity that you have before you, and that's a chance you get to play. And that, again, we didn't have in the past. So, I mean, those are things we don't need to take for granted.
And then just wanted to confirm, because I know the Lovejoy match, and I don't want to call Corsicana a DFW Metroplex team because it's about, goodness, an hour removed from Dallas.
Yeah.
But just want to make sure that game next Friday is at 7:30 p.m.
It is. So our district did that. So, yeah, it's at 7:30. All of our district ball games are at 7:30, with the exception, all right, we will have one that will be a Thursday night game. So why are we playing a Thursday night? Well, because Forney, their schedule, the way it worked out, they have to decide. Somebody's got to play on Thursday and Friday. They're sharing a stadium. So when you share a stadium, sometimes you have to do that. So on our next to last ball game, we're playing on a Thursday. So that'll be different. I think that game may be at 7 o'clock because it is a Thursday night. We'll confirm that when we get there, but everything else right now is 7:30.
Sounds great. And just want to let all of the folks watching this know that we will not be live streaming next Friday's contest in Corsicana versus the Tigers, but as always, we will be broadcasting the game over the radio on KSST 12:30 a.m. But that'll about do it for us here on the October 9th edition of the Coaches Show. Thanks as always to Wildcats football head coach and athletic director Greg Owens for joining me this morning. And thanks as always to Doug Haston for shooting video, James Terry for running the board as our station manager, making everything you hear possible. I'm Ross Lubinsky, sports director here at KSST Radio. So long, everyone.